Hello and welcome to Mile High Reefers. I'm Scott Anderson, and one of the corals I keep getting asked about is my green bubble coral. Now, I've had this coral for about 3 years, so I think it's time we look at what it's like to keep one of these corals over the long haul. I bought my green bubble coral from Animal Attraction in Greeley, Colorado about 3 years ago. Now, before I bought this coral, I really looked around to find the best one. And I'd actually been looking at these corals since I set up my tank. Now, for me, I wanted the green coloration. I know a lot of you guys out there are kind of thinking green's overdone in the reef tank, but for me, in the bubble coral, I think the green's about as pretty as it gets. You also have kind of a pearlish white and pink color, which are also a very lovely coral. From my understanding, there really isn't much care difference, but for me, the color on the green is just spectacular. So I personally wanted a big green coral. Now, when I was looking for a coral, I was looking for one that looked really healthy. I wanted one that was well extended. I wanted something that looked as healthy as possible. And that's really one of those things you can do when buying a coral to set yourself up for success. Get the healthiest one you possibly can. And price is important, I realize, but I would always pay more for a little healthier, better looking coral than pay less for something that may or may not make it. A lot of people feed their bubble corals, and they will absolutely take and accept foods. But I don't actually feed mine. You can, and it's really cool and it's fun to do. I just really don't have the time to go around and feed every large polyp stony in my tank. It would be a lot of work, so I just don't bother. But it is something you can do that promotes health in the coral. One thing I find really interesting about bubble corals is the way they change shape throughout the day. Through part of the day, it might not really show any bubbles at all, but yet be really extended. I'd find this to be kind of nighttime and early morning. Other times it might be bubbly with a lot of flesh showing. And sometimes it's just a really tightly packed bubble. All are really cool to look at. It's just interesting how this coral changes based on light and other environmental stressors. Now, all of this fully extended flesh does come with some drawbacks. First, it's a really fragile coral. If you want to move one of these, do your best to get it to pull itself into the skeleton. Those bubbles are super fragile. I really don't know what happens if you pop one, but to be honest, who wants to find that out? Also, this coral loves low flow. Put it in low flow, let it extend, and you'll be so much happier you did. One thing to remember, when placing this coral, it will go to war with other corals around it. I have a Euphyllia garden really close to this bubble coral, and for a while they battled and nobody won, nobody lost. Eventually, the bubble coral won out and started killing heads on some of my frog spawn and hammer corals, so I had to pull the frog spawn and hammer corals away from the bubble coral. My coral is currently thriving under what I would consider to be moderate light. It's at the bottom of the tank under a mix of LED and T5 bulbs. Now, the spectrum I use is pretty blue, and it really brings out the green coloration. But the coral has always thrived no matter what kind of lighting I put it under. So if you're looking for that coral that can go in moderate light, doesn't need a lot of water flow, and is relatively easy assuming you find a good healthy specimen to begin with, the bubble coral might be the right one for you. Thank you for watching this episode of Mile High Reefers. Like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you on the next one.